corners, fried 20, 10 Passat, meals and a comp, rent a car. I've been to Bali, I've been to Bali too. 2-week course at a suntan clinic, so lying round leggy and I wouldn't look anemic, and you can't impress me, cause I've been to Bali too. Got a ride out to Cooter in the back of the truck, cost $20 and it wasn't worth a buck. Hustled to a Losman down in Poppy's Lane by a Japanese guy in a tropical rainstorm. Lock up your daughters, I've been to Bali too. Anyway, so you get the idea. So
it's amazing bass line, and we
bottom drawer song, but it was Steve's. Honestly, it was Steve's bass
transformation.
line. Yeah. Absolutely took what was going to be like a kind of like a folk rocky kind of shuffle into this reggae thing, and we just like grew it around his bass line.
And everyone was singing it.
Yeah.
Reggae can be equally perilous. May I tell the 19th story? A very famous drummer from a very famous band decided to produce us, or somehow he got into producing it because some sort of star fucking lead singer fell in love with him. And,
what are you talking about?
And had this rehearsal with this guy who's trying to turn Only 19 into a reggae song.
How did that go?
In that little studio in Richmond, we went into.
Yeah, but who's the producer?
That's right.
Oh fuck yeah, you fuck.
Anyway,
this is about history. There are many truths.
He's trying to get us, and it's like the Emperor's New Clothes. You know, we're all sitting around, genuflecting over this amazing drummer and his wonderful production ideas. And he's trying to turn this ballad, this narrative ballad that's full of heart, into a kind of, hey, it's a reggae song. Just feel it, man. And we're going away, and John walking out, and I looked at John, I think he looked at me, and we both realized, no, the Emperor had no new clothes. The Emperor was in fact naked.
But then we got Trevor Lucas. We already had the song, sort of knocked out. We got Trevor Lucas from Fairport Convention, who actually was a songwriter and understood, the musical forms that drove us, and was just able to put it all in a pot, cook it and serve it, and it was great. But we had a pretty good idea of what it was. Look, the other thing that just with lyrics and stuff, that we've often discussed this, and a lot of people who write lyrics don't understand that the lyrics themselves can be or should be a percussive rhythmic instrument. If you hear songs and you just like the lyrics are okay and the tune's okay, and somehow it just doesn't kind of gel, and it makes your skin crawl, and you sort of shuffle slightly off out of the room in an embarrassed way. It's often because the people who write the songs don't understand that the lyric is a rhythmic device.
Ready? She loves you, yeah. She loves you, yeah. How could you not ever get that?
Should you put your chorus first?
Don't know, but you know what I mean. The lyric is a rhythmic musical device.
And we had a guy in the other songwriter in Red Gum, Mick Atkinson, who could write brilliant songs, and he was like, he wrote some of Red Gum's sensational songs, and I used to have to sing them, which is okay, it was great, most of the time it was okay. Every now and again he would come up with a song that was just terrific, except one verse or 3 lines and it just went 3-legged, and I don't know whether it was laziness or perverseness, but
perversity,
I think, but I think that he, and I would be singing this song and I'd be going, this is great, it really flows, you can move the lyric around the sounds of the words and play with it, and then you'd get to these lines and they would just, the thing would just be like a motorbike with a square wheel, and you'd say to him, Mick, this is for shit, you've just got to fix this. And I no, that's how I want it, and I go, oh, fuck you, okay, what's your song, And interestingly enough, while Mick wrote, some really great songs that, deserve to be in the Pantheon.
He wrote the bulk of our repertoire.
he wrote some great songs that were, that deserved to be in the Pantheon of Australian music, but he never actually ever wrote a hit. And the reason that he never wrote a hit was because, somehow or other, at some point or other, he would do something like supposedly clever or something lyrically that just didn't gel, and it was just like, as I said, it was like a car with one square wheel, and
He was always exploring musical ideas, quite complex ones. He was really across all kinds of classical music, and he would just want to shoehorn one of these ideas into a song because that was what was lately firing him up. And I think that was an essential part of his songwriting. You had to take the good with the bad.
yeah, absolutely.
Because as much as sometimes he'd put this square wheel on the motorbike, other times it was this quirkiness that John
That
and I
actually
wouldn't have thought of.
we wouldn't have thought of in a million years.
That added to the interest of our repertoire.
Yeah. The other thing about lyrics too is that it's worth having a look at poetic devices. Alliteration, assonance, repetition, particularly rhyme, obviously, because often those song there are literary devices in there that nobody ever gets, but somehow or other they help nail the song to the wall. Like we wrote a song called "It Doesn't Matter to Me," and it was I'm in the RSL. I joined the Lions Club Friday. My support of sport is thought of highly. Now I was vastly amused, impressed by that when I came up. My support of sport is thought of highly.
Groups of S words in a row always work well.
Well, I mean that was assonance and alliteration. I've been to Bali. Took a 2-week course at a suntan clinic. So lying round Legian. I wouldn't look at him and go L. I mean, they're small things. They're small things, but they actually take a song out of the ordinary and whack it into like a different level. And it's worth just kind of experimenting with those, understanding what those devices are. And there's any number of poetic manuals, so you can learn them, and you know them intuitively and instinctively anyway, because we use them all the time and they're all around the place. But once you say, oh yeah, that's assonance, that's alliteration, that's that, and you go, okay, great. And then and once you're sort of familiar with it, one or more of these devices will find its way into your songs, and it really does elevate them into a different level.
And any Bob Dylan fan out there will know that he really studied poetry and he really studied the forms. The forms are the structures on which you hang your story, and there's no point reinventing the wheel all the time. But if you have at your disposal a range of different songwriting forms, you can pick the best one for your idea. You mightn't do this intellectually, but it'll just form naturally. But the more of those things you have at your disposal, the better. If you're going to write a sea shanty, then it's not bad to have something like, what should we do with Drunken Sailor, what should we do with Drunken Sailor? 3 repeated lines and then a little bit of variation on the end of each thing, and then you do something like that. Well, there are a multitude of those sorts of forms, and familiarity with those forms doesn't hurt you, and the same thing with music. The more facility you have with going from chord A to chord B and making it a nice satisfying progression and the sense of tension and release. I think that's a really interesting thing that we haven't really touched on, that with rhyme is a really tricky thing often, and it involves tension and release, and it hooks into that cliche thing too, because sometimes the cliche is kind of allowing the audience to mentally take a breath or something. You're not demanding another exercise in sort of intellectual understanding and appreciation. Yeah, that's right. The cliche through, but it's the other thing to do on the subject of rhyme, and Hugh's right about the tension and release, where you demand the listener's attention and work, and where you just give them a break and let them sort of drift on into the next verse because they've done enough work in that verse. I mean, I think that's a really important thing, and we do that a bit. But the other thing I would say is don't ever be frightened of the rhyming dictionary. Don't ever be frightened of that. They are immensely valuable. We use them, we write for a living, and we've
seen to be by a few people moderately successful at it. You know, I've got a rhyming dictionary in my guitar case most of the time. And what it does is, you know, you can get an idea and you can be searching for a rhyme and you'll find a word that rhymes or has a similar sort of, you know, sound. It might not be an exact rhyme, but it might be a sort of a near rhyme. You think that's great, and then what you need to do is you need to go back and reconstruct the line so you get there. And that's where the skill is, but that takes you out of the ordinary. You know, you're looking for a rhyme for you know, sand. You know, and it's hand, you know, gland, man, you know, whatever. And then suddenly or other, you know, you pick a word and you go, wow, that's really good, that's really smart. How do I get there from there? And you do it and you go, fuck, that's great, you know. Then I ring him and say, can we record it tomorrow?
There are a number of techniques. One thing I've done on a number of occasions is if I've had a couplet, a rhyming couplet, I've often switched the line 1 with line 2. And got a totally different perspective, or it might have helped me advance my story. Say I've got a rhyming couplet and it looks like it's complete, but it's sort of halfway through the verse and it feels like it's the end or something, and it's just wrong. You flick it around and suddenly it's there. Or if you're really having trouble rhyming something and you still want to say what you're saying, try just swapping your clauses. If you've got a 2-clause phrase or something, swap them around so that you don't force yourself to rhyme this word that's really giving you the irritants. You know, just swap it around. You'll retain your thought. But you say your first line a different way, thus enabling you to have more options for rhyming. I think rhyming's a really big subject for songwriting. Some people do it really intuitively, perfectly. I know people who can write just complete verses off the top of their head, and they really do it. You know. And I don't know how they do it. A complete verse just comes out like that, and other people labour on it, and the same people probably do both things. So
the other thing is when you're writing, you know, if you've got that, you know, back to the drum beat, you know, if you've got a feel in your head and you've got, you know, and you're serious enough about your songwriting, you've got a simple metronome or a little drum machine, they can be immensely valuable, because often you will, you know, the thing will be going around and around in your head, and you can actually write the lyrics while you're driving because you've got that metronomic beat going in your head. I drive my missus mad because I'm sitting, you know, at the kitchen table and having a conversation. I'm going like this.
And they're real simple things like, you know, major or minor, the fundamental distinction in music. You know, are we going to do simple progression, or are we going totally different? Minor. So you've got 2 totally different flavours, and explore all those things, because essentially it was the same idea. Or we were just doing 1, 4, 5 chord progression, just repeating it over and over again. Well, flick in a minor chord, or if you're doing a progression, say you're doing like that, just change one of those chords, go, and you've got a different emotion. And look what other people do. If you make a mental note, if you're hearing a simple song that's got a chord that you think, gee, that chord progression is really amazing. Neil Young does it to me all the time. He'll put in a little minor chord in one of these very simple major songs, and it just transports you.
Takes you somewhere else, and it's just one chord.
It's just one chord, and it's worth noting that, because you might like to use that, or it might inspire you to use something a little like it, or.
And also, look, you know, don't be frightened. I mean, you know, we talked about, you know, having somebody that you love and trust, you know, that you can bring your work to, and you can work it. We do that, you know, all the time. We sort of, over all these years, we've sort of worked out what our strengths are, what our mutual strengths are, and after all these years, we've actually worked out that we are much better together than we are apart.
Oh, we're all black and white.
And the thing is that, you know, don't be frightened. Don't be so precious. Like if you've got somebody you love and you trust with your songs, don't like open your mind and your heart to what they're saying. I mean, I can go to Huey with a, you know, a song and go blah 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 blah, and he'll go, that's really great, but why don't you just, you know, like whack in the minor there, and then whack it in there again, and that sort of lifts the whole thing and go, fucking that's great, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll be working on lyrics, and I'll be able to do the same for him because that's where my strengths are. And we just look at each other and go, fucking great, you know, that's done. And that's, you know, that's the thing. I mean, the thing about songwriting for me is, in one sense, it's a, you know, like it's a solo sport, you know, but very quickly, you know, if you're serious about it, it becomes a team game. And, you know, you've got to be able to play solo, and you've got to be able to play with a team. Look, we've got to go. Is there any other
Song length.
song length?
One
look,
word.
Not too long, that's boring.
yeah, my
Know when to stop.
yeah. I'm really, I reckon 4 minutes 19 seconds is the perfect. 4 minutes 19 seconds, you know, has proved to me irrefutably that that's a killer length. Okay? You know?
4 minutes 19 seconds, and that's not too long.
No.
Depends what you're writing. You know, if you
But I
look,
mean,
look at
for
all the
people that
hits
say
of the
you can't play
50s,
that
hits of 50s and 60s, apart with the possible exception of American Pie, they were all very, very short. 2 minutes 30, 2 minutes 40. And if you need to say it in, you know, longer than that, depending, if it's a, you know, if it's a happy little song, then you might be labouring your point. If you're doing a narrative ballad, well, obviously you go until you've told the story. It's probably not.
I mean, you've got Layla, songs like Layla, Stairway to Heaven, Hotel California, you know, Bob Dylan's Brownsville Girl, which goes on for about 15 minutes, which is just absolutely sensational. Lady of the Leylands, you know.
Should
Look,
you put your chorus first? I went to a songwriters with pretty famous songwriter, and they said, it changed my mind. I put my choruses first because this person told me to. But what do you think about putting your chorus first?
look, it depends on what you do.
I don't always, but I
reckon with a song, like a popular song where you got something to say, you know, you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. And if that involves the chorus first, great. If you need to build up to that, you need to paint the picture and then throw the chorus in, and then it just depends. I don't think there are any hard and fast rules in any of this.
There are no authorities.
No.
In any field of life. There may be people with more expertise in it particularly, but there's no authorities, no hard and fast rules.
I changed. I went and started doing that, but I've sort of gone away from it a little bit more now because it's not always.
You just got to run. You've got to run with your head, run with your heart, run with your musicality, run with the, you know, your passion that is driving you for this song. You know, and trust that at the end of the road there'll be a gate, and you'll open the gate and you'll walk through into a glorious career as a songwriter. But the other thing is, what you need to do is always have another job.
And we're not trying to write to be the winner of Australian Idol.
That's right.
We're not trying to write to have hit records. We're trying to write because presumably we get great pleasure out of writing a song and sharing our thoughts with others. And it's as valid for you as it is for John or it is for me. It's not a competition, it's just whatever. And if your friends like your songs, and it happens that suddenly you have 1 million friends liking your songs, well, good luck to you.
So it's good.
There's no authorities.
Anybody else?
Thank you so much.
Was that useful?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Can we perhaps put our hands together and thank you?
We'll do this song that we did, I think, the first night. I don't know whether you heard it, but it's called Thunder Across the Reef. It's about, I won't tell you the entire boring story, but my great-grandfather would have been on this boat out of Port Adelaide going to Sydney, and a woman he was working for at the time got the shits. She locked him in the coal cellar before he was due to join. He missed the ship, he missed the boat, and the boat sank and almost all things were lost. And this is if you listen to this, this has got your chorus first, right? Okay. Understand, and it's got the verse, chorus, it's got a middle eight, it's got an end, and yeah. Okay. 3 chords. Well, sailors arrive at their crossroads too, and lines on a chart etched in blue. Stern to the wind, run with the sea, there's thunder across the reef. Chorus, that was chorus. Okay, now detail. detail. Well, out off the coast, the semaphore, there's not a seagull in sight. And the black clouds are towering in the wind and the rain. It looks like a dirty night. And the Star of Greece, she got a harbour clearance with a load of grain for home. And the wind is tugging through the rigging, there's a low and a broken moan. Sailors arrive at the crossroads too, and lines on a chart etched in blue. Stern of the wind, run with the sea, thunder across the reef. Well, a run of ragged cliffs from Kingston to the Fluoro, working the wind northwest. There was almost an inch of rain that night, green rolling over the deck. 17 hands on the Star of Greece in the cold and the dark and the rain. And all but 6 or 7 of them won't make land again. Sailors arrive at the crossroads too, lines on a chart etched in blue. Stern of the wind, run with the sea, thunder across the reach. Middle 8 coming up. 7 clouds off course that night, driven too close to the beach. Home is the sailor, home from the sea, thunder across the reach. Soft breeze brushes Port Wollonga Bay, and the rising moon is a silver disc sliding up through the haze. And you can hear those sailors in the mizzen screaming above the wind. Just outside, holding ground on the dark side of the green. Sailors arrive at the crossroads too, lines on a chart etched in blue. Stern of the wind, run with the sea, there's thunder across the reef. Sailors arrive at the crossroads too, lines on a chart etched in blue. Stern of the wind, run with the sea, there's thunder across the reef. Thank you. That was great, guys. We hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. Thanks. And it's been fantastic, and we hope that you've been able to be a little bit helpful.